Hey there, I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of the website techinterview.guide, and I'm here to help people with career advancement and interview preparation. My live stream on Twitch covers topics such as company research, how to build resumes and cover letters, applying for the job, getting through interviews, and what to do during negotiations. I've coached thousands and thousands of people over the years to get jobs at the biggest tech companies in the industry, and I'm here to help you too. The following episode is taken from a longer live stream event and may contain interactions with other people in chat. Check out the end of the episode for more information. Let's get to it. So we had a question in chat. I have an online assessment soon. Part of the assessment is selecting the best way to implement a new feature. This is for a front-end developer. They suggested thinking about slow runtime, user experience issues, etc. I'm not sure how to prepare for this line of questioning. Do I have any recommendations? There's a handful of things here that we can do. From a user experience point of view, you want to make sure they always have a good experience, even if something on the back end starts to fail. So if you're building out something where you're making a fetch call, what happens if that fetch call fails? What should you do? So you want to make sure that any kind of error that you get back, that you handle that in an appropriate way, that you can give your user a good experience saying, sorry, something went wrong, check back in a little while. For things like how to implement new features, in production systems, I've done things like, what we call a feature flag, where a particular account has to have a feature flag turned on saying that Ian is allowed to see this feature. So the next time I log in, I see it. That gives you control as a programmer over who gets to see that particular feature as you're building it out, as you're improving it, taking their feedback, where it's still in production, but not everybody gets to interact with it. So thinking of the idea of feature flags is something you could consider. Thinking about slow runtime, the runtime may not necessarily be on the front end. It might be on the back end. So again, how do you give your user a good experience if something is slow on the back end? So not even from the failure point of view that I just mentioned, but what if it's just really slow? So things like little animations of like spinners and things like that, where the user can visually see that something is happening. Now, for visually impaired people, they're not going to see those animations. So you might need to figure out, how can I hook into things like screen readers to say, your data is being processed, please wait. You could look into things like that. Again, for the user experience point of view and trying to keep everybody accommodated with what you're building. Another one that I consider when it comes to user experience is color blindness. Not everybody can see red and green. Not everybody can see orange and blue. And so finding good color schemes and using icons of like a checkbox for, what would otherwise be green and an X for something that might otherwise be red, using iconography to make it very clear, like this is a good path, this is a bad path of how you want to direct their experience. Let's see, what else might I recommend? Chat, if you've also got ideas in chat for things like this, I would love other input on here as well. Those would be kind of the primary ones. So when you're talking about like slow runtime and issues and things like that, it's sometimes out of your control as a front-end developer. It's going to be, you're dealing with lag or you're dealing with problems on the back end, and how do you handle that in a way that gives your user a good experience? So as I mentioned, animation spinners, iconography to let them know what's going on. If you can hook into things where screen readers would actually read out a prompt saying, your data is processing, the page will refresh in a few moments or whatever to check on status, things like that. Having some way of letting the user know immediately, like, hey, we got your submission, we're processing it, we'll give you some sort of alert or notification when that's done, or we'll refresh the page once it's done. Things along those lines I think would be really helpful from that UX perspective. Aside from that, like how can you speed up things like your React and things like that? Well, depends how or whether you're using tooling like local storage. Do you need to cache things or not? Do you do sort of what we call pass-through caching, where you're hitting something on the back end and when it comes back, you're caching it so you don't have to go hit it again if it's been recent enough. Like if it's only been 5 minutes since the last time they checked their list of friends, it probably hasn't changed. So, do you cache things? Do you not cache things? Those will definitely speed up some of that. But from a front-end perspective, keep in mind that as a front-end developer, you're using my CPU and my RAM and my storage. You're not a back-end developer where if I write really bad code, I'm slowing down a server or I'm using memory on a server somewhere. You as a front-end developer are in a lot of control over my experience within my browser. You're using my CPU, you're using my RAM, you're using my disk, not some server somewhere. And so adding too much tooling on the front, like logging and caching and so on, can also have a negative impact on my user experience. So you have to keep some of those things in mind as well. Thanks for checking that out. I hope that you found it helpful. I always appreciate feedback, so please let me know what you think. I appreciate any subscriptions, so please tell your friends and colleagues about it as well. Check out the website techinterview.guide for more information about when I'm live streaming and all of my free content. Drop by a live stream anytime to ask questions or message me privately, whatever makes you most comfortable. See you next time.